Alrighty, good evening, everyone. Everybody have a nice dinner tonight? Yeah, excellent. All right, well, we certainly hope that you had a fun, exciting, and of course, educational day here at the library. And I know that you are all well prepared to debate tomorrow's topic, Resolved, the Reagan Library is the finest presidential library in all of America. And if anybody wants the neg on that side, you can just start walking that way. On a serious note, we hope you've had a wonderful time today. I know our team has definitely enjoyed showing you our place of work. Just the view is pretty nice. We'll see sunset here in just a little bit. And meals like this is just part of nonprofit living when you work at a museum. So. We see similarities between all of you, our competitors, and President Reagan, your ability to speak confidently, your passion for knowledge, your commitment to the art of being an informed citizen, and a penchant for being unafraid to ask why. You don't accept things simply because that's how they're presented to you, except for maybe this meal. Your talent as communicators has definitely shown through. So whether you're a communicator in our on-site or regional competitions, either on-site or online, or through our partnerships with the NSDA and NODL, you've stood out and earned your spot for tomorrow. As national finalists, you've proven yourselves against hundreds of competitors from across the country. Tonight we gather for one final meal before the competition begins in earnest. Though there will be individual honors and scholarships awarded tomorrow, and though you'll win or lose rounds on your own, I hope you'll remember that the spirit of this competition is not based on wins and losses, but in our ability to forge community around some of the toughest, pressing issues of our time. Even when we disagree, we can do so without being disagreeable. Even though we compete, we gotta remember we're not necessarily at war. And we can believe differently without feeling the need to destroy those differences in each other. And we can focus on what binds us together, which is always stronger than what tears us apart. So tomorrow we're going to do that. We're going to do it together for the greater good of our schools, of our communities, and our country. So in that spirit, I hope you've enjoyed your meal that we've shared tonight, the community we've built around our time together. We've got a real treat for you tonight, a panel of a couple of former great communicators who are going to share some tips for success for tomorrow. But before I introduce to you our panel, I want to tell you a story about President Reagan. And this one is decades before he spoke from a political or presidential podium, or even before he was in the movies or before he was a radio announcer. You saw kind of the arc of his growth as a great communicator when you went through the museum today. Now, this one goes all the way back to when he was about your age. When we think about President Reagan, sometimes we think about him articulating powerful defenses of freedom. We think about him turning to the American people to advocate for ideas that he believed in. But there's a great story about the very beginnings of the great communicator that go back to his time at Eureka College. Ronald Reagan went to Eureka College for the reason that a lot of young men go to college. He was chasing a woman, Margaret Cleaver, who was the daughter of the local pastor, and he had a big crush on her. So she was going to Eureka, and he wanted to go to Eureka too. He got there, and it did not work out, but he was there. And he was not a member of the speech and debate team. He wasn't running for political office or anything like that on campus. But as a freshman, there was some tumultuous times. It was during the Great Depression, and Eureka, like a lot of small Midwestern schools at the time, was suffering through a lot of financial problems. And the president of the school decided that he was going to cut a number of professors and teachers at the university. And he knew this was going to be a politically challenging decision. And so he did the courageous thing, which is he decided he was going to announce it the night before Thanksgiving so everybody would be off campus. The students found out about it, and they wanted to protest. And this was a thing that was really going to impact the upperclassmen, who would lose a lot of the classes that they needed to graduate on time, which meant it was going to cost them more money and cost them more time to stay in college. So they wanted to have a student voice who could speak on behalf of the students, but they didn't want it to be somebody who could get in a lot of trouble and potentially risk their own academic career. And along comes this somewhat shy freshman, Ronald Reagan, and he's chosen for the task. And he practices, and a couple days before this announcement's supposed to happen, they decide they're going to hold a rally on campus in the main auditorium, which you think main auditorium might picture something big. At Eureka College, it's not that big. It still is there today. I've actually stood on the stage where he made this speech as a freshman. So he got up and started kind of listing off all the reasons why this was a bad policy. And speaking to a room full of people, they got really excited. They started clapping and cheering and really got behind him. And for the first time in his life, he felt the power of his words. He felt the power of communication. What ended up happening? Well, this freshman with little to lose, well, he ended up winning. The board decided to fire the president of the university. They decided that this was not a good decision. The teachers kept their jobs. The students graduated on time. And we know what happened to that young freshman at Eureka College later in life once he felt the power of communication. So it just goes to show, no matter how young you are, whether you're in high school or college, that the power of your words can make an impact. And I know that everybody who's here today knows that. So now I want to introduce a few distinguished program alums who have ventured on to success at the university level. We are pleased to have with us tonight 2016 finalist and former education intern, Mr. Alex Millard, who I've debated publicly and lost to. So thank you, Alex, for coming back. As well as somebody who you already met earlier today, another 2016 quarterfinalist in Leadership in the American Presidency alum, Mr. Ben Rankin. So please welcome them to the stage.
Hello. Is this working? Yes. It's working, good. It's bright out.
I've got the lucky seat.
You do. How are you all today? Alex, how are you?
Pretty good.
Pretty good.
Starting to get tired. Had a little coffee. Hopefully that kicks in soon.
Not too tired. We were actually originally planning to have an additional panelist. Emma Lynn could not make it today. Her flight was delayed, unfortunately. So it's just going to be the two of us. It's going to be really cozy and nice. I'm excited. So my first question, as the interviewer in this case,
Yes.
is before you came to this tournament, we're both actually from Missouri, so we have a somewhat similar travel story. But before you came to this tournament, what sort of steps did you take to prepare yourself for your debate rounds?
Like the debate rounds here for the finals?
Yep.
I remember doing a whole lot of reading, just trying to figure out what was going on.
Will you tell folks what our topic was? Do you remember?
Oh, ours, it was on the benefits of the two-party system.
Yep.
And whether or not we should have a two-party system or not. And so I remember reading just a whole lot about our system in two parties, what the country was founded upon and the ideas that we were trying to build, how other countries do it to have democracies, if multi-parties, pluralist, anything like that. Writing, rewriting, and then a whole lot of just reading it out loud. I mean, I remember having the case practically memorized by the time I got here. I had read it so many times, and then once I got here, I read it out loud one more time, and I went, nope, gotta rewrite it.
Yep.
And like started removing things around, and I was like, well, there goes the memorization. But I mean, nothing too special. I just remember kind of saying, you know, this is something I've worked a lot on, and whatever happens, like, it's gonna go well. Like, I just want to make sure I do what I feel like is my best. And so I didn't stress too much about the actual competition so much as just being able to say what I thought on the topics.
No, that's fantastic. And I hear that story a lot from debaters, and that's something that I've done myself is really meticulously prepare planned remarks, and then the night before I'm supposed to give them, I scrap it. So the Great Communicator debates have a really interesting kind of format in that whereas in a lot of debate tournaments, the competition, there are so many competitors that you don't really get to know anybody that you're debating against beforehand. Everyone's just sort of an anonymous code that you know you're going to hit in round. But at this tournament, they go out of their way to introduce debaters to each other and help them sort of form the bonds of friendship before tearing that all apart in a fiery clash of words. So how did that change your experience of the tournament? How did that influence how you felt about debating here and debating people that you knew?
So this was my last debate tournament ever.
Mhm.
And I think it was probably the best one for me to ever go out on, purely because of that. Our year got extremely close. I remember during this dinner, we'd all kind of come together. We were laughing after the Discovery Center. I got it right this time. After the Discovery Center, and we were coming up for dinner, and I remember like the chaperone started coming over to be like, "Oh, let's sit together for dinner," and we all went, "No, we have this table. You guys make your own friends." And then that night we went back and we hung out at the hotel. I remember debating Marshall and Katie, who are two of my great friends from our year, and we went into the debate rounds and we walked out of there and we both turned to each other and we were like, "You deserve to win that. That was amazing." Like, and that's the only time I've ever walked out of debate rounds and told my competitor, "You won," or at least you deserve to win.
Yeah.
After the night was done, comes out, Katie won the whole thing. We all go back to the hotel and all of us go to the pool together while there was still time. We started hanging out in the hotel room for another 2 hours, just talking after the debates, after we like lost and beaten each other over. I'll talk to Katie and Marshall now. They were two great friends, and I keep up with at least half, if not all of them on social media. So like, it truly is a great thing. Like, everyone's walking away with scholarships of some kind. Everyone's getting a chance to kind of do what they love, but there's no other debate or program really that I know of where you get to walk out and be like, "Oh yeah, that person, like, they're great. They beat me. They're like an incredible debater. I'll lose to them again any day." And like,
Yeah.
that's what I walked away with this. So, I mean, it's truly one of the best experiences.
I really share that. That's definitely my experience as well. It's really funny. Going into my Snapchat maps. Do any of you use the maps feature on Snapchat? It's creepy, right? But I'll see people that I debated against just all around the world doing like the craziest stuff, and it's really neat to imagine kind of where they're gone, and I'm always really impressed to see what they've accomplished. So I know I've already kind of asked you a question about preparation, but our debaters are about to enter their last night before the competition. And I was curious if you have any rituals on the night or the morning before you debate to prepare yourself to do your best in your debate rounds, and maybe any tips for them.
Sleep.
Sleep.
Like, I kid you not. I believe that all of you have done so much preparation that you know this inside and out, and that whatever extra hour you might try and squeeze out tonight won't be worth the extra sleep you can get. Tomorrow's long. And like, they're short debates, which is amazing, but they're still exhausting because there's so much downtime. You'll be hanging out with each other in between rounds, and you'll become even closer friends halfway through the tournament. It's a long ordeal. Like, read the news one more time, see if anything crazy happened that you might need to include, but like, probably not on a Friday night. The news cycle is kind of over. And then sleep, wake up, get a good breakfast, maybe reread over the case one more time out loud or whatever works best for you. But like, the best thing that you can do, and for my experiences too, is to just relax. You've got this, and whatever is going to happen, and you all are going to do your best. Like, have fun. If you stress yourselves out, you're going to do more damage than good.
That's definitely true. All of our debaters have done our style of debate at least once, except for our extempors, right? Isn't that correct?
I think so.
I think so. So they all have some experience, mostly. But was there anything that you sort of learned from the additional practice with this debate style at maybe the national finals? Any tips for people who are still trying to adjust maybe to the debate format? Any specific tips in that regard?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me whenever I was in these debates, and especially the ones that I lost, I learned the most from, is it's all about persuasion. And we say, yeah, debate's about persuading people of your point, but like, what American person is persuaded when you go up there and you say, according to a professor from Stanford in 2017, they said, like that? No one listens to that. They listen to rhetoric and words. And I'm sure like we've listened to so many speeches and seen videos of Reagan throughout the library and the past, months of preparation. like it's all about the rhetoric you use and how you're able to persuade people and relate and connect and feel human, not just like, a fact machine that's able to spit out and say why you're right. So I think that's the biggest thing, is being able to separate yourself from the facts a little bit and think, okay, what does this person need? Like, how can I connect to these judges? How can I connect to the people in the room and be able to truly convince them of what I'm saying? And that's why I love the moderator questions so much, because you get a little insight into how other people think. And then you can spend that last speech being like, that was your concern. Gotcha. Okay, I can talk to you. I know what I need to say to you. It's a really great way to debate and actually like communicate rather than just spout facts and argue.
No, I really agree. And something maybe that I'll even recommend is that the way that you speak to the judges when you're talking to them during the moderator questions, that's the way you should be talking to them the whole round. I notice a lot of the time, myself especially, even when I came here, just from practice, that I really used evidence as a crutch, like quoting evidence specifically, or long blocks of text. And throughout the tournament, as I realized that I was definitely getting on the judges' level more and more when I was just talking to them face to face during the moderator questions, I started to kind of lean less on just pre-prepared evidence and sort of trust myself in my rhetoric. And I feel like the debaters that did that the best were really the ones that shone, at least in our year.
Definitely.
Katie was really exceptional at that. So something else that I really like about this tournament is something that you've all probably noticed as you've met each other, which is that except for maybe a couple of states that are very well represented, we've got folks from all over the country. It really is sort of a national collection of diverse origins and really, really interesting individuals with very different backgrounds. And I was curious if you think that affected the way that your debate rounds went, was people's different regional backgrounds, and if you noticed any impact that had on maybe the style of debate or the quality of debate, having all those sort of injected different perspectives.
Definitely toward the beginning, I noticed the different styles start to come through, and you could hear like, oh, that's not how we prep our cases, or oh, what an interesting sentence. That's not something people from my area would say. But as the tournament went on, it slowly started to slow down because most of your judges are also from this area. And so you start to kind of learn, okay, what do people around here need to hear? Like, how do they communicate with each other? And so you started to see it all kind of come together into this consensus of like, this is how we convince each other and this is how we persuade, which is another just amazing thing that shows off some of the skills of the debaters, is being able to adapt and say, okay, this is how I do it, but I don't think that's working anymore. What can I do next time? And being able to figure out and learn from everything that you do. I think the regional differences stood out at the beginning, and they faded away as they went on. The only thing that didn't end was definitely got in a couple of fights with some of our friends that year about differences between burger joints in Texas, California, and the Midwest's lack of a credible contribution to that
We have bad
debate.
burger joints.
That was the only thing that really lasted. Everything else, like, it fades away.
That is so interesting. That's not something I'd considered, but I agree. I definitely agree. So the tip is just to go out and to listen to Californians and prep that way.
Yeah.
So I know Tony talked about some of the opportunities that you did with the Reagan Foundation after you sort of completed your time as a debater here, but maybe just elaborate on that a little bit. Elaborate on the process that you took to find new opportunities for collaboration with the Reagan Foundation and how that went for you as a former debater specifically.
During this competition, toward the end of it, I think Rebecca started talking about, oh, we've got future programs, we do other things, like it's so much more than just debates, like consider it once you're in college, look it up. And so I remember right around the time that everyone starts applying for internships at college, I reached out and I sent Rebecca an email and I was like, hey, you mentioned that you have an internship program. I was just wondering how I could apply for that. And I get a response email back where she went, oh, so what would you like to do? Like, just tell us what you're interested in and then like we'll find a position. Just because like I'm sure you've heard it multiple times throughout the day and you're going to hear it at least 20 more before this is over. The Reagan family is a family, and that truly, like, they'll always be there. There's always some way that they'll try and reach out and connect with you. And so it was a great opportunity where I got to kind of come back, work as an intern with the education team for last summer, and then because of those connections, I'll get emails out about, oh, there's an event in this area, or oh, hey, we know a student who got our scholarship who's coming to Stanford with you. You should reach out to her. And so they really try and connect you, and they keep you engaged. And it's something that's worth putting effort and time into, of trying to stay connected with the Reagan people, because they're an amazing group of people, as I'm sure you know, and everyone that you'll meet along the way are truly incredible. So it's a wonderful opportunity, and stay engaged as much as you can. There's always something new to do.
Just out of curiosity, what are some of the opportunities that you had as an intern in the education department here? What were some of the things that you got to do?
So our year, what were some of the projects that we worked on? They were a lot. They keep you busy. I'm sure you can talk to the current interns about what they're doing now. They keep you busy. We were running around. We did a lot of planning for the big events and being able to help out and figure out, okay, when we were in this event, this is what went well, this is what didn't, how can we try and improve it, or what can we do? We helped to plan for an education summit that they had, RISE. We were part of the team that kind of worked on, okay, how can we put this together? We tried reaching out and coordinating the leadership event that they do at the beginning of fall. And then in March, they brought me to a social studies conference down in San Diego as well, which is where I got to debate Tony. Great experience, thank you. To be able to talk about kind of debate and how the Reagan Library and then the debate programs like this are helping to improve civic education. So the projects differ by year because they will always find something for you to do. If we ever didn't have something to do, we would just turn and say, hey, Rebecca, or hey, Becky, one of the other women, hey, Whitney, do you need us to do something? And immediately they'll be like, oh, we have this project, this project, this project. Or if they didn't, they'd be like, we're going to go scrounge something up. Like, you will stay engaged and you will do stuff. So I can't list any of their projects. There were just so many that got thrown at me.
Well, you mentioned leadership. And leadership is sort of this principle, this value that a lot of the education programs at the Reagan Library like to promote. So I'm curious, in what ways has your own sort of leadership competency or leadership style been influenced by your experiences both as a debater here and then as an intern working on those opportunities for young people?
I definitely think as a debater and through this program, I mean, one of the big things was communication and being able to sit down and say, that was actually a really interesting point. You're right on that one. Which is something that coming out of high school, I wouldn't have thought to do. Like, I just graduated high school. I know everything. I can lead you. What are you talking about? And the same, I remember one of our first weeks as an intern, we all sat down and Rebecca did this leadership style grid with us and talked about different leadership styles and how they work and how people work together. And we all figured out where we fit in, where all the other interns fit in, all of the people that we worked for, and then how to be able to communicate and work with other people who may lead or think or work in an office setting differently than you. And that framework of how to think of it, still, I'll think back on it, I'll do something and I'll be like, oh yeah, that's exactly what that type of like work style would do. I get it. It's a good way to think, to be able to sit down and be like, oh, other people work this way, and we don't all have to work the same way to be able to all work together really well. And that's just something that really stood out, especially because it was such a diverse team in the office and among the interns to work with.
That's fascinating. That's really, really interesting.
Yeah, ask Rebecca about it, of like the full breakdown. I don't remember most of it, but it does stand out to me as a strong one.
All right, Rebecca, coming after you. I want to learn about that. So I know a lot of you guys are off to college, but I haven't gotten a proper full survey of just how many of you are graduating. So to our competitors, just raise your hand if you're going to college next year. That's a lot of you.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, you also went to college right after competing in the Great Communicator debates.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm curious, especially since a lot of these people might be interested in learning how to prepare about college. How did your experience debating here, or experiences with debate in general, prepare you for college?
So there's a lot of ways that debate prepares you, and one that always stands out to me, and I joke about it. My English curriculum at my high school was, I'd say, lacking. I wrote nothing longer than a 5-paragraph essay while in high school for like a proper class. And so my first class at college, we didn't really write very much. It was, I took a lot of math and one ethics class that I was in, they're like, you won't write anything except for a final paper. It'll be 20 pages. And I was like, I only know how to write 5 paragraphs. Like, it was super overwhelming at first. And then as I started working toward it, I was like, oh, it's just like organizing a debate case. Like, what are my main arguments? Okay, what do I need to say to support it? How do I organize it? And then especially after this competition, not just, okay, what do I say and how do I organize it? But then how do I tie it all together into this like strong narrative that'll stand out and that'll stick with you all the way through? And so even though I never actually learned it in a formal setting, I was able to write an okay paper because of the debate experience. I don't do debate at college, but I do mock trial, and they're different. But the way that you approach problems and try to say, okay, we've got to figure out our sides. What are we going to argue? What's the best evidence? Those types of things come up a lot that I learned in debate. I think the only other thing is just the ability to, walk up to a complete and total stranger and start a conversation and find things to say, learn what to ask them, where to probe, and then just be able to listen as well, really actively. I've met so many friends from just walking up to strangers in classes or on campus and just saying like, oh, hey, I've seen you around. Like, I just want to introduce myself. Like, what are you up to? And that ability to connect and not feel uncomfortable talking and using my voice has gotten me a long way.
That's phenomenal. I've actually personally had like English professors come up to me and say, Ben, you handed me a debate case, like not a paper. Change this. Because I revert back definitely a lot. So I'm right there with you.
Oh, yeah, I do that too. Very structural.
Yeah, it's really clinical. So something that I consider myself to be part of, and something that I know you to be part of, is what they refer to here as the Reagan family, a sort of network of alumni that participate in the development of some of these really core, important projects, and maybe contribute wherever we can. And I know kind of what that means to me, but I'm curious what that means to you, what you see your role is as somebody promoting the initiatives that the Reagan Foundation promotes for young people, and what do you think it means to be part of that Reagan family?
So I know as just on the small scale, I definitely spend a lot of time at school talking about the Reagan Institute, the Reagan family, and a lot of their programs. A little bit too much. It's a running joke among my friends. I think what it means for me is that I know that there's always sort of a network of people that I can reach back out to who will help me on sort of the receiving end of everything. But it's also things like this debate competition where I reached out to Rebecca and I said, I absolutely love the debates. It was such an amazing thing. Can I come back and judge? Like, I really want to be there. Like, let me know when it is. I'll go out. And offering to come back for all of these big events. I've had the Reagan Institute people reach out to me saying, one of our scholarship recipients is going to your college. Can we connect you guys so that they have someone there to be able to talk to? And just always being willing to help out when they need to, and then offering to help on things that mean a lot to me and the programs that they have. So they're there for me if I ever had a question or a concern or need someone to connect me with something. And at the same time, like if they have someone that they want to connect me to, if there's an event that they really need my help for, like I'm there for it, and I'm volunteering half of the time too. Like it's a great program. They're great people. I would willingly give up a weekend of my summer to come down here. Like that helps. This helps, but definitely.
No, that's fantastic. Something that I sort of experience commonly as a young person trying to break into academic and professional environments is that you're rejected a lot. When you apply for things, your emails might get ignored, or people might not be terribly interested in following up with you or sort of making things happen. And it has been outstandingly refreshing for me the degree to which the Reagan Foundation and Institute has just been willing to bend over backwards to include you and to respond to you and make you feel wanted and welcome. I think that's why they managed to keep so many like debaters around, just because it's such a jarringly different experience.
The
that
logistical organization here.
they're so professional. It's outstanding. Everything, I feel like I know what I'm doing. It's all organized. I love it. Like, it's just a break from the chaos that is my life. I just need you guys to make an agenda for my days. Like, please. So something that I always experience when I go through the museum is just how jarringly different the way that our leaders communicate is today than it was in the time that Reagan existed. There was no Twitter or Instagram or social media. And I learn a lot, I feel, when I listen to Ronald Reagan speak about how I want to adjust my own communication style, despite oftentimes a lot of the effects of social media on our discourse and the quality and style of our dialogues. And I was just curious whether that was ever something that you'd experienced, whether you have taken any inspiration from Ronald Reagan in the way that you speak to other people or sort of try to shape your leadership persona.
I definitely, whenever we hear the speeches, and those moments where he's able to communicate an idea or express an opinion in such a way that, like, you get goosebumps just listening to a flat speech recorded on a television from the 80s, like, that lasting effect that it has. I definitely want to be able to shape my own speech and my own rhetoric and how I communicate to other people, especially in, like, higher up settings, to have that same sort of influence, or it's just so universal and it's so capable to connect with everyone that's listening. That's definitely something that stands out to me from whenever I come to the library or listen to his speeches or being a part of this program. And I think that ties into leadership too, where he truly tried to connect with others. I mean, Reagan's relationship with Tip O'Neill, like, that would be blasphemous to hear of two leaders from opposite parties willingly sitting down and having, drinks and talking together. Like, that ability to put aside differences for a greater purpose is something that truly stands out to me whenever I go through this library and I think back on my experience here. I definitely try and model that as I move forward and try to aspire to that. It's hard. I definitely fail more often than not, but it's an ideal.
I agree. I really like especially the fact that inspiring people, being inspirational and aspirational, as Ronald Reagan and his sort of positive demeanor often were, that's part of leadership. The ability to convince people that there are higher aims and higher commitments in public life and civic duty that are worth sacrificing things for. I feel like that's something that he was really, really able to accomplish. And that's something that definitely shapes me as I seek to kind of understand my own leadership role, especially as a young person who's still trying to kind of understand myself and my own persona with others. That's something that really guides me, I think. So I think just as a last word, I'm going to give you the last word and let you say whatever you want to these competitors as they prepare for tomorrow.
An open prompt. I'm not good at those.
Take it away.
Thank you. I would say definitely, cherish tomorrow. Like, it's a competition. I get it. There's $10,000 on the line. That money goes a long way when you get to college. Like, they rack up the bills when you're in university.
No pressure.
Have fun. But what I will say is, you all are here. You have this experience. You all are getting some kind of a scholarship, which is great. Enjoy the moments. The debates are so short. What is it? 3 prelim debates and then 3 final ones or elimination ones, right? Yeah. 6 debates, 30 minutes each. Most of your day is downtime. don't spend your downtime sitting around waiting for the next round. Make friends, hang out with all the people that you're debating against. Like, you all are incredible people going off to do incredible things. Those of you who are not graduated are going to probably come back, and you'll be able to spread this incredible experience and say, you know, when I was here, we did this, so I'm going to do this again because it was so fun. So make those connections. Enjoy these moments. It truly is something that'll last in your memory if you make the most of it. So just have fun, you know. Get some sleep tonight. Have a nice little breakfast. Don't stress out too much about your cases because they're probably great. Enjoy it. That's the only advice that I can really give. Genuinely enjoy tomorrow.
I don't think I could have put it any better. Alex, thank you so much for joining me today. It's great to see you again.
Thank you.
Yeah.